What's up, Ramley? You are now in the kitchen with Chef Nixon for all your fixings for the latest and greatest of VCU men's basketball. So, VCU hosted St. Louis University this Friday. How'd it go? Let's get into it. All right. So, St. Louis, they entered this game with a record of 8-9, um, coming off a loss to Dayton University, the Flyers, which was a well played game by St. Louis. Ended up only losing by 5. Um, but let's just call a spade a spade. This isn't St. Louis from last year. Uh, in my opinion, they're still a very well coached team. I think they're a team that you're going to have to beat. I don't think they really beat themselves. Um, Overall, I think they still have talent. They still have good talent from top to bottom. They don't have the scoring that they used to have, and they're also they're just not there. They ended last year very dully for what their expectations were. Very disappointingly, they kind of tailed off towards the end of the season. I think VCU beating them, Ace Baldwin's with 37 point game, really kind of took it out of them. Uh, I remember that we had a watch party for it and everything, and Ace was just going crazy, and every point felt like a point, like somebody pointing in their face, like you're not better than me, because the point guard battle. But speaking of point guards, that's what St. Louis is truly missing. You know what I mean? I think if they had a point guard, floor general that just knew how to get everybody in the positions and get them shots, i.e., who they had, Yuri Collins. I think this team would be a completely different team. However, Yuri Collins doesn't grow on trees. You have to go out and find somebody who can truly replace that, and that's a very tough find. Um, but with that being said, St. Louis tries to run their offense through Gibson Jimerson, who is their leading scorer, and might I say he's doing pretty well for himself. However, I just don't think that he is anyone's number one option. He's averaging 16 points per game, but I can't label him a go-to guy. I really can't. However, they do have a couple other guys that contribute, and it's a team effort, but they are missing something, and I'm curious to see how they're going to handle VCU's size and length, and most importantly, VCU's newfound commitment to the defensive end. So let's go on to VCU. VCU enters this game with a record of 10-7, um, feeling happy, feeling grateful, uh, feeling fortunate, feeling confident, having two back-to-back wins. George Mason University at George Mason, LaSalle University at LaSalle. Now VCU looks to start a 3-game win streak in the A10. Um, and if you've been watching these games from start to finish, even the losses in the A10, you know what the difference is. You can tell what the difference is. Um, and simply put, it's just defensive effort. I mean, defensive effort, the commitment to that side of the ball, the coaching adjustments. Shout out to the coaching staff. They did very, very well, in my opinion, as far as allowing players to be who they are and using their talent to help the team excel. Um, but just look at these numbers, okay? So the first 2 games, that's George Washington and that's St. Bonaventure. VCU was giving them 86.5 points per game between those two. And those teams shot 41.9, basically 51.9, basically 52% from the field. Now, check this out. For the wins we had in the A10, and that's LaSalle and that's George Mason. Both teams doing well. They averaged 57.5 points per game, shooting 35.5 from the field. Now, we've seen all 4 teams play. You all tell me, is the talent gap that big? Or is VCU starting to figure out what works for them? All right? has their defense finally arrived? I don't know. We're gonna have to. It's gonna be something that we're gonna have to continue to measure as the season goes on. We know who the top of the top is when it comes to A10 teams. So I really can't wait to see that as a measuring stick, but don't want to go too far ahead of myself. Um, so Max is still doing this thing. He's still the leader of this team, and I think that's simply because he's the most consistent. Max knows his role. He just goes out there and hoops. Um, but with that being said, any given night, anybody, like, we have a good 5 or 6 people on the team who can lead the team in scoring or just production. So which player would show up for VCU? How would this game go down? So let's start. First and foremost, the biggest one of the biggest things about this game, no Zeb Jackson. Zeb Jackson hurt his back against LaSalle late in the first half, back spasms. He was doing well. He was on the sideline. He had something wrapped around his waist, man. He looked like a superhero. Uh, but no Zeb for this game, and Jason Nelson will get the start. Now, here's the thing. Zeb Jackson is one of our best drivers of the ball. He can get to the cup. He's a good passer, and his defense is really unmatched. Now, Janelle, one thing he does, he shoots his percentage from 3-point is one of the highest on the team. He's shooting like 40% from 3-point. He is pesky. He will, go out and play hard. He has a lot of dog in him. So I know he was excited for this, and I was curious to see how he would take advantage of this opportunity. And I believe he did very well and represented himself very well in that starting role. And it was beautiful to see when he had success, Zeb stand up and show his support and love for his teammate instead of being weird. So yeah. But the one thing, the tip off happened, and the one thing I can tell immediately was the defense and the attention to detail and the emphasis the coaching staff had put on our players to guarding Gibson Jimerson. Like I said, St. Louis tries to use him a lot in their offense as their spark. And how they use him is something like a old school J.J. Redick or a Steph Curry, without more of like a Klay Thompson type of way, where he just continuously running off screens, handoffs, ball screens, down screens, baseline screens, everything to get him open, and that's basically their offense, and everybody plays off that motion. So it was an extreme detail to guarding him, and Max, I have to give Max a lot of credit. He took the challenge, started out on Jimerson, and he made it extremely hard, and he really set the tone for his teammates who would be switched off and guard Jimerson as well. And they did a really good job throughout the whole night. In the defense, first I'd like to say, watching St. Louis play, I can see how they can beat teams, but I just don't see them as a team that will make any noise in the A10. Simply for the fact they just don't have a guy, in my eyes, that can really. They have guys that score, but they don't really have a guy that I feel can truly go get a bucket for them. You know what I mean? Like I said, this is a well-coached team, so they're going to run their offense. They're going to play solid defensively as much as they can, but they just don't have enough scoring ability to really be a threat in the A10. And when you look at how VCU's defense has been playing, these guys didn't really stand a chance, in my opinion. For instance, we just had multiple efforts, great communication. If someone did get picked on a screen when Jimerson was coming off of it, it was great communication, great switching, taking away his catch and shoot opportunities, really doing a good job of trying to clog the paint. And when somebody did get to the rim, he had to score over 2 or 3 guys. And speaking of scoring over somebody, they really struggle scoring over Toby Lawal, which everybody does. You better get him with a pump fake. Other than that, I wish you the best. but Toby Lawal had four, at least four, uh, at least three amazing blocks. And Toby's one of these guys. I promise you, I haven't really seen this since probably since Larry Sanders. To see blocks that truly ignite the crowd, blocks that truly ignite your defense, um, and could change momentum. I haven't really seen that since Larry to this point. Now, Mo Says No was a real thing. Okay, Mo Says No was a real thing. So the excitement was there, but it's just something different with Toby Lawal. And if you want to throw Mo in there, I think the last one we had was Mo. Okay, Hassan Ward would block shots, but not at this frequency. He did make it tough, but I just, for my opinion, I just think that Toby Lawal's shot blocking ability is rare to find, and I don't think a lot of teams in the country have a guy like that, let alone in the A10. So, oh, speaking of, one of his blocks made Sports Center top 10. So, you know what I'm saying? There you have it. Another thing we did offensively, I thought we did very well, and we've been doing it pretty well this whole season, and that's using our height and our length to really crash the boards. Christian Furman, again, I really love his development and his progress this season, along with Toby as well. And these two are really dogs on that backboard. If they're not getting a offensive rebound for themselves, they're giving their teammates opportunities by just getting their hand on the ball and keeping the ball alive. And I really think we did a good job of crashing the boards. St. Louis struggled to keep us off the offensive boards, especially in the first half. And offensively, like I said, anybody can go off for VCU. They have so many guys. You got Max, you got Sean, you got Zeb. You know what I mean? But I want to just talk about the importance of Joe Bamsil. Joe Bamsil, 6'4", 6'5", 6'5", super long arms, very talented, very confident, and it's so important. Very confident guy, a player with a scorer's mentality. And if you look at all teams that really have success, they usually have a guy coming off the bench that is like, it's either you got a really strong starting five, or you're gonna have a guy that comes off the bench that just can truly turn it on and light it up. And you look at your Brandon Rosales, you look at your Melvin Johnson, shout out to Mel. You look at these guys who could come off the bench and truly light it up. Now Mel ended up being a starter, but that's he started off on the bench, and I just think that you got to have guys who are just true scorers, and that is what Joe Bamsil is. He never sees a shot he doesn't like. He's going to take a lot of good ones, but he's also going to take some bad ones. And being that he has that confidence, and being that he has the ability as a coach and as players, you're just going to have to accept those, because there's going to be those days where he takes those and he makes those. And that was this Friday. I thought Joe Bamsil played literally, well, I know for sure his best game in black and gold. But this might have been the best game of his career. And I didn't watch. I can't lie and say that I watched a ton of George Washington games, but I'm pretty sure this is one of the best games of his career, and I'm glad that he got to have it here, along with all the struggles he had, the mental health, the family issues, the NCAA. But to see him be able to come out here and really ball out like that was really good to see. But it's important to have a guy like that. But back to the defensive end. I might be willing to say that this might have been VCU's best first half of the season because offensively we had things going, but defensively it was really, really like even the shots that St. Louis would make, I felt were well contested. Some of the some of the and ones were like, no, it's just really good defense, but it is what it is. It kind of bang bang plays, but I thought that we did a really good job of locking in the defensive end, knowing our assignment, and taking care of business, holding them to only 26 points in the half and 30% from the field in general. So I thought it was beautiful. So going into half, we're up 10, 36-26. Now, if you know me, if you ever sat by me during a basketball game, or you've been at home listening to me talk on the TV on Masson through Learfield, or if you've been to you visited one of the watch parties, aka the crock pot, you know how important how much emphasis I put on the first few minutes of the second half. You got to win it. For St. Louis, they have to win the first 5 minutes, first 4 minutes. They have to make VCU call a timeout. And for VCU, if you really want to put your foot on an opponent's neck and not allow them to have any hope of or gain any confidence in thinking that they can play with you, you got to win the first 4 minutes. And it looked as if St. Louis had a little bit more fight in them. They were able to cut the lead to 7 and stay there for a few. But then VCU just gradually beat the will out of them. I mean, it wasn't anything where we went on a big run. It was just like we just gradually showed them, you're not better than us. Gradually show them you're not together as us. Gradually showed our dominance, our physical will, and we ended up blowing the game open. The biggest lead being 28 points. You know what I mean? And when I look at the stat sheet and I look down the rows, VCU basically won every statistical category: points in the paint, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, 3-point percentage, fouls, turnovers, points off turnovers, bench points. And I thought St. Louis had a lot of bench points, but they still didn't. That still wasn't a category they won. This was a complete routing for VCU. I thought they did extremely well in taking care of business, and they showed a little bit of killer instinct, and that's part of developing as a team and actually maturing as a team, to not allow teams that aren't supposed to be on the court with you be on the court with you. VCU ended up pulling out the victory, 85-61. Now, St. Louis, Sincere Parker. Now, like I said, they had some good bench production, and it was due to Mr. Parker here. Sincere Parker had 21 points, 2 rebounds. Terrence Hargrove Jr., the athletic guy with the dreads, 10 points, 4 rebounds. He's the type of guy I wouldn't mind having him on my team though. He plays hard. He seems to be a good guy as far as camaraderie goes. He gets the crowd involved when he plays. He's not a guy I wouldn't mind having him on my team. But 10 points, 4 rebounds. But here is the golden nugget: Gibson Jimerson, 2 points on the night, 0 3-point field goals. Now, like I said, they try to use him like J.J. Redick. So that means he's coming up all these screens, any type of screen you can think about. And he had 0 3-pointers made, and he only took 1 on the night. He was 1 for 3 from the field in general. Amazing job defensively, collectively, by VCU on Mr. Jimerson. Started off Saturday night by Max Scholler. So VCU, Joe Bamsil, 29 points, 5 rebounds. An incredible night for him. He loves to be home and play in front of the Ramley and get the crowd involved. Shout out to you, Joe. Max Cinemax, same production, just a new movie. 15 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Killer as usual. And my low key player of the game, Sean Barstow, White Magic. 10 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds. A lot of people are like they get concerned about Sean because they feel as if he's still underperforming even though he's playing incredibly well. And I guess that's a good thing as a player to hear. Like, damn, I'm hooping. They still think I got another gear, which means you probably do. So I can't wait until his legs get completely under him. Not playing for the length amount of time that he was, like 6 weeks or something, like 6 to 8 weeks, something like that, and then doing some conditioning to try to get your body back in shape, and then trying to run up the court and play all these minutes and still have your legs under you, and it's a lot. It's a lot. And as the season goes, his basketball legs will get there, and I think that you're going to see a lot of big nights from Sean. Just wait and see. But again, he led the way in assists, and I think it's a foregone conclusion that he should just go to one. But that's just me. I know. J Nell did wonderful. Zeb is great. Max is great. I just like what I like. So moving forward, Tuesday, VCU will host Loyola Chicago. Now this is their second year in the A10, and they're off to a much better start than they were last year. Last year they really struggled throughout the whole season. Coach Valentine tried his best. I think he I think he's a really good coach, but I just think that adjusting to the talent level, even though the NCAA said, oh, well, A10 doesn't have any talent. They only are one big lead, all da 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 da. Then we have 6 teams in a damn NIT. But I digress. But they're off to a much better start. And usually teams struggle when they have a first year coach. Thank God that we don't have to struggle. Now there was thoughts that we were going to be struggling, but understanding that we're still a winning team, and you see other teams have new coaches and really struggle out the gate or struggle throughout the whole season. I'm taking that. But yeah, so they're off to a better start. They're 13-6, 5-1 to A10, only losing one game, and that's to the University of Henrico by 2 points. They're led by Philip Austin. He's averaging 14 points, 4 rebounds. He's a versatile forward who can impact a game in a multitude of ways. And Desmond Watson, 13 points per game, 4 rebounds, and he is a sniper shooting 42% from 3. Like I said, they're a well-coached team, and they're going to be extremely confident and hungry to come into the Siegel Center and try to get a victory. So, Ramley, show up as you always do, and the guys will take care of business, all right? And that's all I got for y'all. Much love, and until next time, never quit, stay humble. Peace.